Hey, Trevon, now we have the Orlando Magic for the team grades. We're gonna keep this train moving. So I'll go first this time and give you, my grades for them. So I think that the Orlando Magic, based off of last season, taking, their record and, what they were trying, their expectations into account, I'll give them a C. Didn't have a great record, but they did really well and developing the young guys. I think like Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony, uh, Franz Wagner. He is really a really good player. I like his game a lot. Um, and I they did get Bowl, which I think with a new opportunity and getting more playing time, I think we'll really be able to see if he is really good. He's really talented. A lot of people like, his size and the things he can do on the court, but is that going to really transition into the NBA game? Well, that is, yet to see, but they did acquire him off season. I think that they got a B plus with getting Paolo Banchero out of the draft out of Duke. I think that's really going to help them moving forward into the future. They didn't really sign anybody new, so just based off of the draft, I think when you think off season, you want to see like signings and all that, but they're young, so they're probably not going to sign anybody big or anything like that. So I give them a B plus based off of the draft alone. If they sign somebody, I would probably give them an A, but just based off the draft, B plus.
Yeah, for Orlando, when it comes to the end season, I give them a C because of, like you said, their record. Even though they weren't expected to win, just like the Houston Rockets, they ended up being the bottom team in their conference. But I feel like they did pretty much similar to how Houston did, just trying to give their players experience, like Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs. I feel like they still have a lot to figure out with how they're going to rotate those guards around because they also have RJ Hampton. And I feel like, and Markel Fultz too. It's a lot of guards in that position. I feel like they have to figure out who they're gonna, make the first string, second string of guards, because they're all pretty much talented in their own right. Just figuring that out. But yeah, for the end season, I give them a C. Wasn't really much expectation, but I feel like the highlighting point for the Orlando Magic is the offseason that they just had. I mean, you draft the number one player. I think that gives you a lot of points in terms of a grade. They also, along with Paolo, they got Caleb Houston out of Michigan, who I think can be a serviceable player. Maybe you piece him in there somewhere. Um, but yeah, Paolo, I was had some questions about whether he was the number one pick out of this draft, but I do believe with the summer league you could take a grain of salt. I know it's not with real NBA players or proven NBA players. I'll say that, but he did prove to be the best player out of all three. I think Jabari Smith didn't really have that great of a overall summer league. Chet has a lot of good, promising features, but I feel like all around you have to say it's Paolo, right? Like he was just more of a initiator, really aggressive. He got his teammates involved. He can probably dictate the game a lot better than those other two, top three picks. So I feel like when it comes to Orlando Magic, the probably most important word to use is promising because I just feel like they have a lot of promise and upside that you hope can be fulfilled, and it's all going to be centered around Paolo. Like I said, they got good players with all those guards, and as you mentioned, French Wagner, he's going to be a very good. He's going to be a very good piece moving forward because I think his numbers were very similar, or pretty much reflected the same numbers as Scotty Barnes, who was, rookie of the year, same amount of points. I know the assist favors Scotty a bit more, but the rebounds, they were pretty much identical. So I feel like with Orlando Magic, they have a promising future. The franchise and the organization doesn't really have that much of a culture. We can see what they make out of this, but I would give them a B plus when it comes to the draft because I'll give them a B because they got the number one overall pick. Who I think is definitely was the right pick. Um, and I just think they made some noise in the draft, and we'll see how they piece all this together. So we'll see how they do moving forward.
Yeah, no, I think you brought up a good point with Paolo, and that's why I gave him a B plus. It's like if a team is young and upcoming and they do really well in the draft, I think a B plus is really the highest I'll go in terms of an off season grade because I think also you have to take into account like signings and how good you made your roster. And
Yeah,
I don't think Orlando did anything on the signings part or anything or free agency, anything like that, which I don't think that they're trying to do because they're trying to build with young talent, which is perfectly fine. But I gave them that B plus because of Paolo, and I think it has a lot to do with what you highlighted, um, especially with what he did in the summer league. I mean, he was the guy, in my opinion. You can give him the basketball. He's like the engine of the offense. He competed offensively and defensively. He's a guy that you can make the face of your franchise, in my opinion. Or he has the potential to be. We still have to see him in NBA games, but in the summer league, and then also at Duke, you he he has those tools to be able to do that, and he has the potential to do that. So I think Orlando hit with that number one pick.